Okay. Sorry about the background. I interrupted my mom's movie to do this. Hello! That's my mom, Susan. Hello! Okay, when I was transitioning out of the Army, life was a mix of uncertainty, of pressure, and constantly racing thoughts. It felt loud even when everything around me was perfectly quiet. I didn't realize how much noise was going around inside me until I sat alone and prayed. No movement, no distractions, just me trying to just breathe for a moment. And in that stillness, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't profound. It was a gentle peace that settled deep enough to quiet the thoughts that had been running nonstop. That moment reminded me of something my mom used to tell me. Prayer should sound like how you actually speak. God isn't waiting for perfect phrases. He knows what you mean. He's listening to your heart. And because of her, I learned early on that talking to God matters, but listening matters just as much. Silence is often where listening begins. So today, I want to explore 3 simple but powerful truths. How silence prepares our hearts, how it quiets the noise inside of us, and how it helps us recognize God's guidance more clearly. Silence has a way of opening up emotional space inside of it. We don't really notice when we're busy, when we're stressed, but when we pause and everything inside begins to slow down. Psalms 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." That's not just a suggestion, it's an invitation to settle ourselves, to become aware of God again. And for me, that was very important during that difficult time after leaving the Army. Stillness didn't magically fix my circumstances, but it steadied me like nothing else could. It became a place of peace where I could rise above all the noise that I had been carrying. It invites God into us. One of the clearest examples is Elijah. God wasn't in the wind, or the fire, or the earthquakes. He was a gentle whisper. That story shows us something important. God often chooses to speak in ways that are not loud. That's where intentional silence matters. One of the textbooks we use in class talks about how self-imposed silence increases our awareness and our ability to listen, not just to people, but spiritually as well. And prayer, it's a conversation, not a speech. If we're doing all the talking, we might miss what God is trying to say. Sometimes the best way to listen to God is to simply turn off your phone, put everything aside for a moment, and just listen. Give God room to speak into the quiet. Even a minute or two, daily, weekly, of intentional silence can change your whole posture to God and help you settle yourself. And silence invites a spiritual sensitivity. We all deal with internal noise, our worries, our anxieties. We overthink things. It doesn't come from outside. It's from us ourselves. And it's louder than anything the world can do. And silence cuts through that chaos, and it lets peace rise to the surface. I found in Isaiah 30:15, it says, "In quietness and trust in your strength." Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about finding strength in calming ourselves. Richard Foster, who writes about Christian spiritual disciplines, explains that solitude creates a space for God to bring deep inner peace. And that is true. When we quiet ourselves, we begin to sense things outside our normal worldview. And our minds shift from a jagged, chaotic, like a sound wave, jagged, chaotic sound wave to a calm, smooth sound wave. And in that, we can hear more. We can hear more God's guidance more easily. We separate our emotional reactions from what He's actually leading us to. It doesn't calm us only. There is now space in that wavelength for us to hear God. Because it's not just going up and down. And so when we make room for silence, a few things start to change. There's a deeper sense of peace that we receive from God. We quiet the noise that keeps us distracted from what matters and from this quiet voice of God, the whisper of God. And we become more aware of God's guidance in our daily lives. Silence might look empty from the outside, but spiritually, it's full. When I left the Army, silence became the place where God met me when I felt overwhelmed. And honestly, it's still the place where He speaks to me clearest today. I hope this encourages you to embrace those quiet moments, because sometimes the softest spaces are where God speaks the loudest.
That was a good presentation.
Thank you, Mom.